So, FM25, I mean, where do we start? I was hoping the last time that we made a video of this nature a few weeks back, looking ahead to what would supposedly be the January release of the game, that would be the last time we'd have to talk about it in a negative light, and that by now we'd have some news about FM25 and we'd be looking forward to it because, we kind of were promised that. And it hasn't came to be. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the game, also hopefully get yours in the comments. We'll discuss some questions that are being asked by a lot of people at the minute in terms of why can't they do this, why can't they do this. We'll talk all about that in today's video, cover a bit of speculation as well, what we think might be going on. But I will start this by saying I have no more information than anybody else out there can access. Just because I make FM YouTube videos doesn't mean I know any more. And I'm not just saying that. In fact, I've never actually had any interaction with Sports Interactive in my whole time making content. I haven't been down to the studio or anything. But even the guys that do that kind of thing, they know nothing. The guys on the SI forums, they know nothing either. And I think there might be a reason for that, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, we're going to break everything down today. Most importantly, I want to know your thoughts in the comments. I'll try and stay as positive as I can in sense of staying optimistic, but I'll be honest, it's not looking great at the minute, I don't think personally, and I'm sure many of you agree. So let's get to the major talking point. We've let the dust settle since last week. Everyone else has already made a video about it, but I wanted to say my piece as well. Football Manager 25, as we all know, was delayed until March. We got this post released in October, and since then it's pretty much been radio silence, other than there was one post they did, I think towards Christmas time, basically saying that you can still buy FM24, we're not removing it or anything like that until the new one comes out, as normally you can't buy the old version of the game. If you haven't yet got it, you have to buy the new one. Either way, it doesn't matter. We basically haven't had any news on FM25 since this post, and in that post it said we would get a gameplay reveal at the end of January 2025. Now, as you can imagine by this video, and if you check the date, it hasn't happened. We didn't get any information. This date we were promised, they didn't live up to on what is already a delayed game. So obviously that kind of sent the FM world into frenzy. There was a lot of people just refreshing, it's going to be 4 o'clock, it's going to be 5 o'clock, and that was Monday. And then on Tuesday we didn't say anything, and by Friday, I mean, when we didn't get anything, it was like, okay, a bomb's gone off in the FM community. And I guess rightly so, because everyone's already disappointed. This game's been delayed long enough, and now we've had this situation on top of it. It's a big deal. Now, it obviously raises a question that if any of you don't know, why is it delayed? Well, they're making it on a new engine, and for that reason, it caused a bigger delay than they expected in terms of making this new game on the new engine, and for that reason it was pushed back. Should it ever have been delayed this long? Has it been poorly planned? The answer is no, it should never have been delayed that long, and it has definitely been poorly planned, or at least poorly communicated, because I think everyone will agree I'd rather buy a game that actually works and not buy a game that's half working or full of bugs. So if they had to delay a game for a few months to get it right, then I could have accepted that. And I have to accept this situation, but it's been delayed for months and we still know nothing. Now, as of right now, at the time of recording, we haven't had any more information. It's now February, a few days into February. After the end of January, we've started a new week, and there was no information on Monday, and it looks like there's going to be no information on the Tuesday when I'm recording this. So that obviously begs the burning question that a lot of people have been asking, why haven't we heard anything? That obviously has led to lots of speculation about, I've seen someone saying the game's been pushed back till May and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that information is true. I don't know where their source is from. It's just kind of what you see on social media. I'm going to disregard it for now because Sports Interactive haven't said anything and I haven't seen the source of it personally, but I just can't understand the lack of communication. I said that on a Twitter post on the Friday when it had kind of ran out, the time on January, that's the one thing I can't understand. I would much rather them give me bad news and say, look, the game's not coming out until this date, or this is what's happening right now, we'll tell you more next week. But it's just been radio silence. And for that reason, obviously at first it annoyed me, and it still does, don't get me wrong, but it's also given me a little bit of hope in the sense of, I don't believe any company in their right mind would go radio silent, and especially one like Sports Interactive, which many people can criticize some things they do, but really, they're pretty decent on the communication front. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they tend to keep people updated in blog posts and whatnot. Miles, the creator, does plenty of his blogs about the situation of the game when they're developing a new one. And I just think they would not have gone down the route, particularly seeing all the reaction on social media over the last week when it was getting closer and closer to that January deadline of us not hearing anything. I don't think they would have took the stance of, you know what, let's just say nothing. I don't think they would have chosen to do that. And if they did, then that is one of the craziest business decisions that I think you'll ever see in the gaming industry. So what I can only assume is there's a reason they can't tell us something in terms of licensing, legal situation, and I'm hoping that that means that there will be good news down the line. They just can't say it yet, because I refuse to believe that if it was bad news, they would just go, you know what, let's try just not saying anything and hope everyone forgets about the game. Now, again, I'm no oracle, I know no extra information than anybody else, but I have to hope that the company wouldn't take that stance of just remaining silent for the sake of not wanting to reveal bad news. I hope it's not that. I hope it's licensing, legal stuff, whether it's waiting for pushback from the Premier League or the Champions League license or one of their clubs to allow them to say, yes, the game is being delayed and here's why. Or as I saw, Lelujo took a very optimistic view in his video. And I really hope that it is the case that, you know, let's say he used an example of the Champions League music, obviously not being fully serious, but imagine that was part of the gameplay reveal and they had to wait for the sign off from the Champions League or whatever it might be. Very optimistic way of thinking, but I have to hope it is something like that, and that there's a reason why they're telling us nothing, because to me it baffles me. I'm sure it'll baffle all of you guys as well. I've lost a lot of the energy I've had around the game, to be honest, in terms of making content, and I imagine a lot of people will have as well. Obviously we'll keep the FM24 content going, but you're kind of already just trying to keep it going to get to the March release, so if that gets pushed back further, yeah, I mean, we'll see what we can do. We'll keep doing as much as we can for you guys on the FM24 game. Hopefully you all appreciate that, and we always appreciate the support from you guys, so thank you for that. But yeah, the game, we got no news. We don't really know why yet. We're hoping there's a reason why, because I can't assume any company would take that stance. But let's get on to a few of the other questions that you guys might have around the game. And if you don't like me talking, then feel free to read this brilliant article on FMSCOUT. It's the website, of course, the YouTube channel that we have, and the guy that runs the website, Stam, has wrote a little article. I mean, he's been doing Football Manager content for years. He doesn't have any extra information, I'll say that. He doesn't have any more info than anyone else does. But he's tried to take almost the emotion out of it a little bit and just give you the facts about what's going on for a bunch of different questions, given his opinions as well, but trying to keep as realistic as possible about many different FAQs basically that you might ask. So I'll leave a link to this in the description down below for anyone that wants to read it. It's a great article, but I'll run through a few of the things that we've been having people comment recently that you might want to wonder about. The first one is an opinion that I spoke about before on the channel, and it's one that most people will be asking is there going to be an FM25? Why don't they just push it back to FM26 and come out the normal time it does, November or whatever? And this basically says, to summarize, that we think yes, there will be, because they almost have to put something out by the end of March if they want to make any money, particularly when they've taken on a new team for women's football, for example. That's an extra set of people to play. Now, just to clear up, I know there'll be a lot of people that think women's football is the reason it's been delayed. Again, I have no extra information, but that's been a separate body of work, women's researchers and whatever, that's been happening for a while, and it's actually the reason it's moving on to a new game engine. They're basically rebuilding the game onto Unity. That's the reason for the delay, not the women's football. Now, it could have added a 1%, 2% delay getting it into the game, the same way that having new transfers, they have to update that in the game and whatnot. But it's the build of the game on this new engine, the new menus, the new actual match engine as well. That is the reason there's been the delay, and Sports Interactive made that clear, that it is the move to Unity. They didn't expect it to be as difficult as it was. There's also the question then of why is it the last date of March that it's been announced as when it's coming out? Well, that is the end of Sega's financial year. So by all accounts, if they were setting a final date of when they would have the game out, a push, the furthest release date they were thinking would be the end of March, so they can make some money for that financial year. Now, I imagine they did do that intending to bring the game out, but if things still aren't going well, maybe they'll have to change the situation, but I still expect that they will try and bring the game out, else, you know, they're going to make no money, they've got staff to pay. It's a yearly annual release game. I can't imagine many people are still out there buying FM24. There's also the whole thing of Xbox and Netflix, where I don't know the exact details and inner workings of how this kind of thing works, but if you're, say, Microsoft, Xbox, and you go to Sports Interactive and say, we'll give you this much money to host your game on Game Pass, you'll get more players, and we'll give you this sum of money to do so. They would have probably done that with Sports Interactive, that deal, expecting a yearly release, the same way they've done it with Call of Duties and whatnot, where when they drop, they're on Game Pass straight away. Again, don't know the inner workings, but you'd assume there's a lot of pressure on them to have some kind of game out, whether it is broken and terrible or whether it's good. There's an expectation by many people that they have to release something by March 31st, but obviously with a delay now in news, that might not be true. There's also the question of why did they promise to deliver the game at the end of January, or at least reveal it and then push it back? And as he says, it's kind of what I said earlier, you just have to assume that there is a reason why they're doing this. It's the only way it makes sense would be some kind of licensing reason, and they're not allowed to say anything right now, whether for bad reasons or good reasons. Either way, I'd rather just hear something about the game. And the fact they're not saying anything, I don't think it's on the company of Sports Interactive going, let's just be quiet. I don't assume that is the way. If it is, bonkers. Again, I'm not like a shill for Sports Interactive. I don't get paid by them. Obviously, I love the game that they make every year. And of course, that's part of my career now. I mean, I work part-time at work and part-time on YouTube videos for you guys. So yeah, obviously it does mean something to me in that sense, but I'm not being paid to say nice things about the game. In fact, if you look at our reactions to feature reveals and the delay in the past and whatnot, we're not always nice about the game. And I think every creator has the ability to do that. I don't think anyone is under a contract to say you must always only say nice things about Sports Interactive. Who knows, maybe there is a contract out there that I don't know about, but I certainly haven't got it. It's just, it baffles me. I cannot believe that the company would choose to take this stance if they were able to choose. It makes me think maybe they haven't got the choice right now due to legal stuff, and that's what I'm holding my hopes out for, and I think many people are feeling the same currently. Just to note as well, I mentioned briefly earlier the speculation that some people are saying the game is being pushed back to the end of May. My thoughts on that, I don't know if it's true at all, I don't know the source of it, it's just one of them things that goes around social media. And that is one of the issues with this delay, by the way. The fact that they've said nothing has meant that speculation can just blow up out of anywhere. People are saying loads of different things about, I've heard this, I've heard this, I've heard this. And that is obviously not a good way for the game to be. Is like I say, that's why I'd rather have some news, even if it is bad news, because I'd just like to know where we're at so we can stop speculating about it all. But if it does get delayed to the end of May, who knows? Does that mean they won't normally have FM26 when it comes out? Will FM25 kind of become FM26, and between May and its normal release period of November, maybe it'll be in some kind of beta phase, who knows, all just speculation, but I don't know how I'd feel about that. I really don't, to be honest with you. If it is delayed until May, it would all depend on what they're then going to do with FM26. That also kind of links to this last question on here. I mean, there's plenty of others that I didn't cover, so if you want more information, go and have a read. It really is a great piece, but yeah, in terms of being offered a discount or something, if FM25 is pushed back that far, I mean, even now with how far it's been pushed back, in theory, there's less time to play the game as normal, but you can kind of put as much time into it as you want. So I can't see that being a reason why it'd be delayed, but if it did get pushed back until May, maybe there's something they could do, and Stan mentions it here, that instead of saying that FM25 is cheaper, maybe there'll be some kind of loyalty scheme where if you buy FM25, FM26 is available at a 20% discount or whatever it is, some kind of loyalty bonus. That could be a way to get around it, because they are going to need to bring money in as a company with the release of this new game, else they're going to struggle. You've got to remember as well, this isn't just a company that's paying for people in their team, they've also got licenses, and their licenses have only grown in recent years. So, you know, to have Premier League licenses in your game, to have Champions League licenses in your game, they need money. They need money in, and it wouldn't surprise me if they released it in whatever kind of state it is in March. But as of right now, it's kind of my thoughts on it, a bit of reaction, a bit of talk about speculation and whatnot, kind of just a bit of a debrief with you guys, to be honest. Even if a few people just watch this, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, I mean, it's a very weird situation. Not one anyone could have really predicted in that sense. Maybe you could. Maybe Sports Interactive knew long before in terms of a delay. But either way, as of right now, we know nothing. Still no information at the time of recording on Tuesday. Fingers crossed, I'll put this out on the Wednesday and they'll have said something and this video will be completely void. But who knows? Based on the way it's going, I don't think so. But we'll see. Fingers crossed, we get some kind of game at some point, someday in the future. Yeah, all right. See you guys.